When I was promoted and offered to become a director in New York City, my husband declared, "I don't give a damn about your promotion. Mom and my sister are moving in with us, and you'll take care of them. That's more important now." After that, he went to meet his relatives, and when he returned, he screamed at what he saw. But before we start, I'll ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and enjoy listening. The phone vibrated at the moment when Sarah was finishing the last line of the quarterly report. Robert Morrison's name, the regional manager, lit up on the screen. She frowned. Calls from him usually meant either an urgent problem or something really important. "Sarah, good evening. Are you in the office now?" "Yes, finishing the report." "Excellent. I need to meet with you urgently. Can you come up to my office?" Sarah glanced at the clock. The office was already practically empty. Only security downstairs and a couple of accountants who had stayed late. She saved the document, closed her laptop, and went up to the 7th floor. The manager's office was located in the corner part of the building with panoramic windows overlooking the entire city. Cleveland in the evening lights looked cozy and familiar. Sarah had lived here all her life, 38 years. Born, grew up, studied, worked. This was her home. Work. The usual way of life. Robert Morrison sat behind a massive desk. In front of him lay a folder with documents. A man of about 55, graying with a penetrating gaze. He had been managing the regional branch of a large distribution company for 12 years, and Sarah respected him for his clarity and fairness. "Sit down, Sarah. I want to discuss a proposal with you." She settled into the chair opposite, crossing her arms on her knees. Outwardly calm, internally tense. Something in the manager's tone was alarming. "You know that headquarters in New York is planning expansion? We're opening a new regional branch that will oversee all of the Northeast. We need a director, an experienced person, tough, capable of building operations from scratch. I proposed your name." Sarah blinked. Branch director. That was 3 steps above her current position as head of the sales department. And what did they say in New York? They approved. Moreover, the CEO personally reviewed your file and said you're exactly the person we need. "Sarah, this is a serious offer. Salary 3 times higher than your current one. We're talking $150,000 base plus bonuses. Full benefits package. Company car, relocation to New York at the company's expense, help with housing. But there are conditions. You need to make a decision within a week. If you agree, in a month you should start work." Sarah sat motionless. Numbers, prospects, opportunities flashed through her head. Branch director. New York City. A salary she hadn't even dreamed of. This was a career breakthrough that happens once in a lifetime. "I understand this is unexpected," Robert Morrison continued. "You need time to think. Talk with your family, weigh everything. But keep in mind, opportunities like this don't come twice. If you decline, we'll find another candidate." She nodded, trying to maintain an impassive expression. "I'll think about it. Thank you for the trust. You've earned this offer, Sarah. In 8 years of work, you've shown yourself to be a reliable, effective leader. Your department consistently exceeds targets. Clients respect you. Your team listens. You know how to get results. The company needs exactly people like you." Sarah left the office in a state of strange numbness. Her legs carried her to the elevator automatically. Thoughts jumped chaotically. New York. Director. A new life. A chance that falls to 1 in 1,000. She went down to her office, gathered her things, turned off the light, and headed for the exit. On the way to the car, the phone chimed. A text from her husband. "Running late at Mike's. Dinner's in the fridge. Heat it up yourself." Sarah grimaced. Paul at his buddy's place again. 3rd time this week. They weren't, of course, just sitting and chatting. Beer, football on TV, conversations about nothing. Paul worked as a project coordinator at a small construction firm. He earned about $45,000 a year and was quite satisfied with it. No ambitions, no drive either. He got the job 7 years ago and since then hadn't even tried to find something better. She started the car and drove home. The city was painfully familiar. Every turn, every traffic light, every street. Sarah grew up here. Finished Central High, then Cleveland State University, business degree. Went to work at a trading company as a sales associate, then senior associate, then department head. She took evening MBA classes, read professional literature, attended seminars, invested time, money, and energy in herself because she wanted more, wanted to grow, develop, achieve. Paul laughed at this, said she took work too seriously, that she needed to know how to relax, live simpler. For him, a stable paycheck, weekends with buddies, and football on TV were enough. Sarah didn't judge him for it. They were just different. She was used to thinking this was normal. Husband and wife can be different. The main thing is that they respect each other. The apartment greeted her with silence. A 2-bedroom in a residential neighborhood, bought with a mortgage 5 years ago. Sarah made the down payment. She also paid about 75% of the mortgage. Paul contributed what he could, but his salary barely covered current expenses. Sarah heated up dinner, sat at the table, but didn't feel like eating. Her thoughts kept returning to the conversation with the manager. Branch director. New York City. This was huge. This changed everything. But what would Paul say? Would he move with her? He had work here, friends, his usual life. He never liked changes. Even when she suggested going abroad on vacation, he declined. Mexico, the Caribbean, Europe. All this seemed excessive to him. Why spend money when you can relax at someone's lake house? Sarah opened her laptop and started searching for information about salaries in New York, rental prices, cost of living. The numbers were impressive. Of course, living in the city is more expensive, but the proposed salary covered it with plenty to spare. Moreover, she could rent a good apartment, save money, travel, live the way she wanted. Paul returned around 11. The smell of beer and cigarettes. Face content, relaxed. "Why aren't you sleeping?" he asked, dropping onto the couch. "Working again, Sarah? Do you ever rest?" "I need to talk to you." "Let's do it tomorrow, I'm beat." He went to the bedroom without even changing. Sarah remained sitting at the table, staring at the laptop screen. Inside, irritation was slowly rising. She had been offered the job of her dreams, and her husband didn't even ask what she wanted to talk about. She went to bed only towards morning, still not having made a decision. Thoughts spun in circles. On one hand, this was a chance that couldn't be missed. On the other, what about the family? Paul clearly wouldn't want to move. So either she refuses the position, or they'll live apart for some time. Or maybe he'd agree. In New York, there'd be work for him too. Construction coordinators are needed everywhere. In the morning, Paul left for work early, not waiting for her to wake up. Sarah got ready, drank coffee, and went to the office. The workday passed in the usual rhythm: meetings, calls to clients, sorting out problem situations. She managed a department of 12 people, and each required attention, control, sometimes a push. Sarah wasn't a soft boss. She demanded results, didn't tolerate excuses or laziness. Some feared her, some respected her, but everyone knew if Sarah said something, that's how it would be. By evening, she called Paul and asked him to come home earlier. "I have something important to discuss." "Serious? What's going on?" "I'll tell you at home." He came at 8. Sarah had already prepared dinner, set the table. Paul sat down, started eating, sneaking glances at his wife. She was silent, waiting for him to finish. "All right, talk already," he finally said, pushing away his plate. "What happened?" "Yesterday, I was offered a promotion. Director of a new regional branch in New York City." Paul stared at her. "Is this a joke?" "No. Salary 3 times more than my current one. $150,000 base. Full benefits, help with housing, relocation at the company's expense. I need to answer within a week." He was silent, digesting the information, then leaned back in his chair. New York, huh? Well, not bad. Congrats. Paul, this means moving there. To New York. Well, you'll go check it out. Maybe you won't like it. Sarah clenched her fists under the table. This isn't a business trip. This is a permanent position. I'll have to live there. Paul frowned. You mean you want to leave Cleveland? I want to accept this offer. Paul, do you understand what this means for my career? I understand. So what am I supposed to do? You can come with me. Find work in New York. Construction coordinators are needed everywhere. He shook his head. Sarah, what are you talking about? I have everything here. Good job, friends, family. I don't want to go anywhere. Paul, this is my career. I've been working toward this for 8 years. Well, go ahead. Who's stopping you? She looked at him, not believing her ears. He spoke as if it were about a weekend trip, not moving to another city. We're married, Paul. Decisions like this are made together. So I'm not against it. Go try it. If you like it, you'll stay. If not, you'll come back. I'll wait here. Sarah got up from the table and went to the balcony. She needed air. Paul didn't understand the scale of what was happening at all. For him, her career was something secondary, not worthy of serious attention. She stood on the balcony for about 10 minutes, looking at the evening city, then returned to the room. Paul sat in front of the TV, flipping channels. Paul, let's discuss this calmly tomorrow evening. Okay, yeah, discuss as much as you want. But I already told you I'm not going anywhere. I'm fine here. Sarah went to bed with a heavy feeling. Paul snored beside her, carefree and content. It seemed to her that a wall had grown between them, invisible but solid. The next day at work, she received an email from the manager. It contained details: contract terms, salary amount, bonuses, work start schedule. Everything was laid out clearly and specifically. The company offered generous terms because it wanted results. Sarah reread the email 3 times. Each line sounded like an invitation to a new life. In the evening, she tried to talk to Paul again, showed him the email, explained the conditions. He listened half-heartedly, nodded, but it was clear his thoughts were somewhere far away. Listen, Sarah, I'm happy for you, honestly, but I really don't want to move. I'm good here. Maybe you'll go for 6 months, try it, and then decide. Paul, this isn't for 6 months. This is a serious position. If I agree, it's long-term. Well, then I don't know. Decide for yourself. She realized the conversation was hitting a dead end. Paul didn't want to discuss it, didn't want to delve into it. For him, everything was simple. Wife wants to leave, let her go. She'll stay good. Won't stay, also nothing terrible. On the 3rd day, something happened that changed everything. Sarah was working from home, preparing a presentation for a client. Paul was at work. In the middle of the day, the phone rang, an unfamiliar number but local. She answered. Sarah, honey, this is Linda, Paul's mother. Sarah tensed. Her mother-in-law rarely called, usually on holidays or when something happened. Hello, Linda. How are you? Fine, thanks. Listen, I wanted to give you good news. Valerie and I have decided to move to Cleveland, to your place, very soon, by the end of the month. Sarah froze. I'm sorry, what? Well, we're family, honey. Paul told me everything. Says you have a spare bedroom. Valerie, and I thought about it. Why should we stay in this dead-end town? Cleveland has better opportunities, better stores. And Paul needs his mother nearby. It's hard for him alone. Sarah was silent, trying to process what she heard. Linda, does Paul know about this? Of course, we already discussed everything. He says, come on, Mom. I even sold my house, can you imagine? Got $180,000 for it. Good buyers. Valerie is coming with us too. It's time for her to get out of this place. So get ready, we'll be there soon. Cheerful sounds came through the phone. The mother-in-law hung up without even waiting for an answer. Sarah put the phone on the table and stared at the wall. So that's what it was. Paul not only refused to move to New York, he had already invited his mother and sister to live with them without asking his wife, without even hinting. Sarah stood up, walked around the room. Inside, a wave of cold fury was rising. Linda, 61 years old, former elementary school teacher, retired 3 years ago, a domineering woman, used to her word being law. She lived her whole life in a small town in upstate New York, raised 2 children alone after her husband left for another woman. She adored Paul to the point of obsession, considered him the perfect son. She treated Sarah coolly but politely, called her honey, and always gave unsolicited advice on household management. And Valerie, Paul's sister, was 4 years younger than him, worked as a retail clerk in a local store, married at 20, divorced at 23, lived with her mother, didn't do much of anything. Sarah had seen her a couple of times at family holidays. The girl seemed empty and entitled to her. And now these two were planning to move into their 2-bedroom apartment without asking, without discussion. Just presented it as a fact. Sarah waited until evening when Paul returned from work, met him at the door. "Your mother called." He hesitated, looking away. "Oh, yeah, I was going to tell you." "When?" "After they've already moved in." "Sarah, why are you angry?" "Mom wants to be closer to us. She's lonely there." "Paul, she sold her house. This isn't a weekend visit. They're planning to live here permanently." "So what? We're family. We should help each other." Sarah crossed her arms. "You should have consulted with me first. This is our apartment, our space. You had no right to invite someone without my consent." Paul frowned. "This is my mother. She raised me, invested in me. Now it's my turn to take care of her." "Taking care is one thing. Moving 2 adult women in with us is another. They're not strangers. Mom worked her whole life. She's earned her rest. And Valerie isn't to blame that things didn't work out with her husband. We should support them." Sarah felt everything contracting inside. "Paul, I was offered a job in New York as branch director. I wanted you to come with me." "Well, you see," Paul spread his hands, "my mom is coming soon, so I definitely can't go anywhere. You, of course, go if you want, but I'm staying." "So your mother is more important than my career?" "It's not like that. It's just that Mom needs help. She's 61, Sarah. She can't live alone. And you're young, strong, you'll manage." Sarah turned around and went to the bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the bed. Her hands were shaking. Her head was buzzing. So that's exactly how it was. Paul chose his mother without even trying to understand how important this offer was to Sarah. She sat in the bedroom until late at night, thinking about the situation. The options were simple. Either refuse New York and stay here with her husband, his mother, and sister, or agree to the position and leave alone. There was no compromise. Paul won't go. That was clear. In the morning, Sarah got up before her husband, got ready, and left for work. All day she was distracted, inattentive. Colleagues noticed but didn't ask. Sarah wasn't one to share personal problems. By evening, Linda called again, this time with clarifications. "Honey, I was thinking Valerie and I will need the spare bedroom. You have 2 bedrooms, right? We'll take one, and you and Paul will be in the master. Nothing wrong with being a bit cozy." Sarah listened and felt cold anger growing inside. "Linda, Paul and I haven't discussed all the details of your move yet." "What's there to discuss? Family should be together. Paul told me you work a lot, so I'll help you. I'll cook clean. It'll be easier for you, right?" "Thank you, Linda. I need to go. We'll talk later." Sarah hung up and put the phone on the table. Inside, everything was boiling. Linda was already making plans, already dividing their apartment, already deciding how they would live. And Paul supported his mother in all this without even thinking about his wife. In the evening at home, there was another conversation. Paul tried to explain that nothing terrible would happen. "Mom is great, Sarah. She'll help you. You're always at work, and she'll do everything at home. I don't need help. I need personal space. Well, you'll deal with it for a bit. Mom will settle in. Then maybe she'll find something to do. Everything will work out. Sarah looked at her husband and understood. He sincerely didn't see the problem. For him, it was normal to bring his mother and sister into the house without asking his wife. Normal to think that a woman should tolerate, adjust, sacrifice her interests for the family, for his family. On the fourth day, Sarah was distracted by the phone again. This time Paul called during the day, in the middle of the workday. Sarah, listen, here's the thing. Mom said she and Valerie need furniture, a new sofa and dresser. Can you stop by the furniture store after work to look? Paul, I have a meeting until 8 p.m. Well, tomorrow then. Just hurry, they'll be here in 3 weeks. Sarah hung up without saying goodbye. He didn't even apologize for imposing his family on her. Didn't even try to understand her point of view. Just kept presenting her with one fact after another. In the evening when she returned home, Paul was sitting on the couch with his laptop, searching for something online. Look, here's a good sofa. $1,200. We'll take it. With what money? Well, we have savings. Those are my savings, Paul. I've been putting them aside for 2 years. Well, so we'll spend them. It's for Mom. She needs to be properly settled. Sarah closed her eyes, counting to 10, then calmly said, Paul, I won't buy furniture for your mother. If she's moving, let her decide what she needs herself. Paul frowned. Why are you so angry? Mom is trying, wants to help us. I didn't ask for help. Sarah, do you even love your family? She stood up and went to the bedroom without answering. She closed the door quietly, but inside she wanted to slam it so hard the walls would shake. On the 5th day, something happened that finally put everything in its place. Sarah came home early. Paul wasn't there. His phone lay on the table. He'd forgotten it in the morning. The screen lit up. A text came. Sarah glanced automatically and saw the message from Linda. Honey, did you talk to Sarah? Does she know that Valerie had to quit her job? She had problems there with her manager. You know how it is. And there are still credit card debts. I sold the house to pay them off. Gave half to the banks, kept the rest for us to live on. So now we only have you guys. You won't turn away your own mother and sister, right? Sarah reread the message twice. So that's what it was about. Valerie got into debt, lost her job. Linda sold the house to pay off debts. Now they really had nowhere else to go. And Paul knew all about it. Knew and kept silent. This wasn't a temporary visit. This was a permanent settlement of 2 adult women with problems. Women who expected Paul and Sarah to support them, feed them, tolerate them, because family, because duty, because that's how it should be. Sarah put the phone back and went to the kitchen, poured herself water, drank it in one gulp. In her head, understanding of the situation was forming. Paul would never go to New York. He was tied to his mother by an umbilical cord that hadn't been cut in 39 years. For him, Mom was the main woman in his life, and his wife was just an appendage. In the evening, Paul returned, grabbed his phone without even noticing that Sarah had seen the message. She didn't tell him about it. There was no point. On the 6th day, Robert Morrison called Sarah. Sarah, tomorrow the week expires. Have you made a decision? She sat in the office, looking out the window at the gray sky. I need a little more time. Unfortunately, there's no more time. New York requires an answer. If you decline, the position will be offered to another candidate. I understand the decision isn't easy, but we can't delay. Give me until tomorrow evening. Please. The manager sighed. All right, but this is the last extension. Sarah hung up and leaned back in her chair. A decision had to be made now. Right now. Either she agrees and leaves, or refuses and stays here with a husband who doesn't value her, with a mother-in-law who's already dividing their apartment, with a sister-in-law who has problems and debts, with a life that will turn into endless servitude to strangers. She took out her phone and texted Paul, "We need to talk seriously tomorrow evening. No excuses." He responded in 10 minutes. "Okay, I'll come early." Sarah put away her phone and returned to work. Inside it was cold and clear. She already knew what she would say tomorrow, knew what her answer would be. Because in 8 years of work, in 38 years of life, she understood one simple thing. No one will give you what you want if you don't take it yourself. No one will respect your goals if you don't defend them yourself. No one will make your life better if you don't start acting yourself. Tomorrow she would tell Paul everything she thought. Calmly, without hysterics, without tears. Just set everything straight. And if he doesn't hear, doesn't understand, doesn't want to meet her halfway, well, then she would make a decision. A decision that would change everything. Sarah closed her laptop, gathered her things, and drove home. The city saw her off with evening lights, familiar and dear. But for the first time in 38 years, she looked at it and thought, maybe it's time to leave? Maybe it's time to start a new life where no one will impose their problems on me, where I'll decide for myself how to live, with whom to live, and for what to live. Tomorrow would be the conversation, the last chance to fix everything, or the final point in a marriage that had long turned into a formality. Sarah parked near the building, went up to the 4th floor, opened the door. Paul sat on the couch, watching football, turned around, nodded. "Hey, dinner's in the fridge." She silently went to the bedroom, closed the door, and lay on the bed without undressing. Tomorrow everything would be decided. Tomorrow she would find out if this marriage had a future, or if it was already dead and no one had bothered to acknowledge it. In her jacket pocket, the phone vibrated. A text from Robert Morrison. "Sarah, I await your answer tomorrow by 6 p.m. New York, can't wait longer." She looked at the screen and slowly nodded to herself. New York can't wait, and neither can she. For 8 years she had waited, built, achieved. Now the time had come to act. Sarah stood up, went to the closet, took out a small suitcase, put documents in it, passport, marriage certificate, bank statements, everything that might be needed. Then she put the suitcase back and went to bed. Tomorrow a new chapter would begin. What it would be like depended on one conversation. A conversation that would determine whether Sarah would stay in Cleveland serving a stranger's family or fly to New York to build her life. The life she dreamed of, the life she deserved. She closed her eyes and sank into a restless sleep, and in the morning woke up with a firm decision. Whatever happens tonight, she won't back down, because Sarah Collins wasn't one of those who tolerates, not one of those who sacrifices herself for others' whims, not one of those who gives up dreams for the sake of others' comfort. She was one of those who takes what's hers, and today she would take what belonged to her by right, her life. The morning began with Sarah waking up before the alarm. Outside the window it was still dark, the city was sleeping. She lay looking at the ceiling, and thoughts spun in her head. Today was that very day. The conversation with Paul. The final answer to New York. The point of no return. Paul snored beside her, sprawled across half the bed. Face relaxed, carefree. He didn't dream nightmares about a collapsed career or an imposed family. He didn't dream of anything at all except football and beer with his buddies. Sarah got up quietly so as not to wake him, went to the kitchen, started the coffee maker, stood by the window watching how the city gradually woke up. First cars, rare joggers, lights in neighbors' windows. An ordinary morning of an ordinary day. Only for her, this day was pivotal. The phone vibrated on the counter. A text from Robert Morrison. "Good morning, Sarah. Reminding you, I await your answer today by 6 p.m. I hope for a positive decision." She looked at the screen and mentally nodded. Until 6 p.m., 12 hours. In this time, she needed to talk with Paul and make a final decision. Sarah got dressed, drank coffee standing up, and left for work without waiting for her husband to wake up. She needed to gather her thoughts, prepare arguments, think through every word. A difficult conversation lay ahead. In the office, it was quiet. She came an hour earlier than usual. There was no one in the corridors yet. She turned on the computer, opened a spreadsheet with calculations. Yesterday, she had compiled a detailed comparison. Income, expenses, prospects. On the left column, stay in Cleveland. On the right, move to New York. The numbers spoke for themselves. If she stayed, salary $52,000, mortgage $2,100 per month, utilities $180, groceries and other $800, leaving about $600 for everything else. Plus Linda and Valerie. They needed to be fed, provided for, tolerated. Paul's salary $45,000, but he spent half on himself, on friends, on entertainment. Total household income, at best $97,000 for 5 people. Survival, not life. If she left, salary $150,000, apartment rental $3,000 per month, utilities $150, groceries $500, leaving about $6,000 per month for savings, for travel, for normal life. Plus career growth, plus new opportunities, plus freedom from strangers. The choice was obvious, but Sarah understood it wasn't just about money. It was about respect. Paul didn't respect her career, her work, her ambitions. For him, she was just a wife who should cook dinner and tolerate his mother-in-law. Sarah's work seemed frivolous to him, like some kind of hobby. At 9 a.m., colleagues started arriving. Staff from her department greeted her, smiled, asked about business. Sarah answered briefly, reservedly. They had no need to know what was in her soul. The workday dragged slowly. Meetings, calls to clients, reviewing reports. Everything as usual, but thoughts constantly returned to the evening conversation. What would Paul say? How would he react? Would he understand how important this was? At lunch, Sarah went outside, walked around downtown Cleveland. The city greeted her with familiar sights. Public Square, the old buildings, Terminal Tower. She was born here, grew up on these streets, knew every corner. This city was part of her. But now, looking at the familiar landscapes, Sarah felt, it's time to leave. Time to move forward. At 2 p.m., her thoughts were interrupted by a call. Paul. Voice agitated, almost excited. Sarah listened to the news. Mom and Valerie are arriving tonight. Got a last-minute flight. Landing at 8:30. I'll pick them up at 9. You'll come with me to the airport. Sarah froze with the phone to her ear. Tonight? Paul, you said in 2 weeks. Well, yeah, but they found cheaper tickets. Decided to come earlier. Sarah, this is great. You'll finally get to know them better. They'll live with us. You'll all become friends. Sarah was silent, digesting the information. So there was no time left at all today. Paul, I can't go to the airport. I have things to do. What things? Cancel them. Mom is waiting. I can't. Paul sighed irritably. Well, okay, then I'll pick them up myself. Just be home by 9 p.m. For sure. We'll come have dinner together. Mom wants to talk to you. Sarah didn't answer, just hung up. She returned to the office and immediately called Robert Morrison. Sarah. Robert, can I give you my answer right now? Not wait until evening. Of course. I'm listening. Sarah took a deep breath. I accept. I'm taking the job in New York. A short pause hung in the receiver. Excellent. Congratulations, Sarah. This is the right decision. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. come to the office. We'll process all the paperwork, contract, relocation advance, logistics. We'll discuss everything. Thank you. She hung up and leaned back in her chair. That's it. Decision made. Contract practically signed. Now all that remained was to tell Paul about it. The rest of the day passed as if in a fog. Sarah worked mechanically. Thoughts were far away. She thought through how to structure the conversation, what to say, how to explain, although she understood explaining was useless. Paul wouldn't hear. For him, his mother was first, and that couldn't be changed. At 5 o'clock, Sarah gathered up and drove home. She needed to have time to talk with Paul before he left for the airport. She had about 3 hours. At home, she changed, washed her face with cold water, sat on the couch, took out her phone, opened notes with arguments, reread them, put them back. Arguments wouldn't help. Paul had already decided everything. At 6 p.m., the front door opened. Paul entered with huge shopping bags, face beaming. "Hey, look how much I bought. Mom loves this brand of coffee, and Valerie adores these cookies. And I got fruit and vegetables and juice. Now I'll completely stock the fridge." Sarah silently watched as he unpacked groceries, humming to himself, satisfied, carefree, happy. He completely didn't notice the tension hanging in the air. "Paul, we need to talk." Yeah, just let me put away these dairy products." "No, right now." He turned around, apparently catching the seriousness in her voice, set down the bag, came over. "What's going on?" "Today I had to give an answer about the job, about the New York offer." Paul frowned. And I accepted." He froze, looking at her. "What do you mean you accepted?" "I called the regional manager this afternoon and took the position. Tomorrow I'm signing the contract." Paul slowly lowered himself onto a chair. "Are you serious? But we didn't finish discussing this." "We discussed it. You said you wouldn't go. I took that into account and made my decision. But wait, I thought we still had time. Mom is arriving today. You'll meet her, talk, maybe you'll change your mind." Sarah shook her head. "I won't change my mind. I've already accepted. In a month, I'm moving to New York." Paul ran his hand over his face. His face reddened. Sweat appeared on his forehead. "Sarah, what are you doing?" "What about the apartment? Who will pay the mortgage?" "I will. The salary there is 3 times bigger. I'll manage." "And me?" "You'll stay here. You'll live with your mother and sister as you planned." Paul jumped up from the chair. "You want to leave me?" "Not leave to go. Because you made your choice and I'm making mine. But we're married. We're a family. We were a family. Now you've chosen a different family. Live with them." Paul came closer, grabbed her by the shoulders. "Sarah, stop. Think about what you're doing. You can't just destroy everything like this." She calmly freed herself from his grip. "I can't, and I am." "Is this because of Mom? You just don't want to live with her?" "I don't want to, but it's not just about her. It's about you, Paul. About the fact that you don't value me. My work, my career, my goals mean nothing to you. I'm just a wife to you who should cook and tolerate your relatives." "That's not true." "It's true, and you know it perfectly well." Paul stepped back, leaned against the wall, was silent, digesting what he heard, then straightened up. "Okay, suppose you're right. Suppose I made a mistake somewhere. But let's try to fix it. I'll try to support you more. I'll value your work." "It's too late, Paul." "Why too late? Let's give ourselves one more chance." Sarah shook her head. "We haven't had a chance since the moment you invited your mother here without asking me. You put her above me, and that can't be changed." "But she's my mom. She needs help." "Your mom is an adult woman. She can take care of herself." "She can't. She's 61. Her health isn't what it was. She needs support." Sarah sighed tiredly. "Paul, your mother doesn't need anything special. She just wants to control your life, and you allow it." Paul reddened even more. "You have no right to talk about my mother like that." "I have the right because her decisions directly affect my life, and I don't agree to put up with it." "So you're leaving me because of her?" "I'm leaving because of you. Because you don't see me as a person. For you, I'm an appendage to your life, not an equal partner." Paul stood, fists clenched, breathing heavily, then suddenly turned around, punched the wall. "Damn it, what am I supposed to do? Tell me." "Nothing. Everything is already decided." "But I love you." Sarah looked at him with a long gaze. "No, Paul. You love convenience. You love that I pay the mortgage, cook dinner, don't interfere with you seeing your friends. But me, as a person, you don't love and never have. That's a lie. It's the truth, and deep down you know it. Paul paced around the room, not finding a place for himself, glanced at his watch. I have to leave for the airport in an hour. Mom's plane lands at 8:30. Go. And you? I'll stay here. And you won't come to pick them up? No. Sarah, at least for appearances. I won't go, Paul. Your mother doesn't interest me. Paul stopped, staring at his wife, his face twisted with anger. You know what? Go to your New York. I don't need your career. Mom and sister are more important. Sarah silently looked at him. You understand. Paul raised his voice. I don't give a damn about your promotion. Mom and sister are moving in with us, and you'll take care of them. That's more important now. Sarah didn't even blink, just stood looking at her husband with a cold gaze. Paul, I don't even want to listen, he interrupted, waving his hand. Everything is decided. Mom will live here, Valerie too, and you'll help them. Period. He grabbed his jacket, pulled it on as he walked. I'm going to get Mom, and you sit here and think about how you'll apologize. Paul slammed the door and left. Sarah remained standing in the middle of the room. Inside it was strangely calm. No emotions, no tears, just cold clarity. She went to the kitchen, poured herself water, drank slowly, looking out the window. Outside it was getting dark. Streetlights were coming on. An ordinary evening of an ordinary day. Only for her, this evening was pivotal. Sarah looked at the clock. 7. Paul left for the airport, would be there in 45 minutes, meet his mother and sister, bring them home around 10. So she had 3 hours. 3 hours to change everything. Sarah took out her phone, opened contacts, found the number of the divorce attorney she had consulted with last week. Called. Mr. Patterson? Sarah Collins calling. Remember, I consulted with you about divorce. Yes, of course. Hello, Sarah. Tell me, if I want to file for divorce tomorrow, is it possible to process it relatively quickly? The attorney was silent for a moment. It depends on the circumstances. If your spouse doesn't contest and there's no property dispute, it's possible through a simple dissolution. In Ohio, with mutual consent, about 30 to 60 days. And if I give up my share in the condo, then even faster. You sign a property settlement agreement, he signs consent. Within a month or 2, the divorce will be finalized. Excellent. Please prepare all the documents. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll come to your office. All right. Just keep in mind, a condo is a significant asset. Are you sure you want to give up your share? Absolutely sure. Understood. Then I'll expect you tomorrow. Sarah hung up and thought. There would be a divorce. That was decided. But that wasn't enough. She needed to show Paul that she wasn't joking, that he had lost her finally and irrevocably. She went to the bedroom, took out a suitcase, began packing things. The most necessary. Clothes, shoes, documents, valuables. She worked quickly, precisely, without emotions. In about 20 minutes, she packed everything she needed. Then she called Jennifer, her friend. Jen, can I crash at your place for a few days? Of course. What happened? I'll tell you when we meet. I'll be there in an hour. Sarah closed the suitcase, carried it to the hallway, then returned to the room and looked around. What else needed to be done? She went to the desk, took out a sheet of paper, a pen, began writing. Paul, I'm leaving. I'll file divorce papers tomorrow. I'm leaving you the condo. I'm giving up my share. Live with your mother and sister. I wish you happiness. Sarah. A short, dry note. Without extra emotions, without explanations. Everything had already been said. Sarah left the note on the kitchen counter, where he'd see it. Then took the suitcase, her laptop bag, left the apartment, locked the door, went downstairs, got in her car, drove away. On the way to Jennifer's, she felt a strange relief, as if she had taken a huge weight off her shoulders. 8 years of marriage were over. Just like that, with one decision. She left her husband, the condo, her former life. And she didn't regret it. Jennifer met her at the door, hugged her. "Sarah, what happened?" "Getting divorced. Moving to New York." "Seriously?" "Absolutely." Jennifer led her into the living room, sat her on the couch, made tea. Sarah told everything. About the job offer, about Paul, about the mother-in-law, about today's conversation. "And what now?" "Tomorrow I'm signing a contract with a new company, filing for divorce, starting a new life, and let Paul live with his mother as he wanted." Jennifer shook her head. "Sarah, I understand and support you. You can't sacrifice yourself for someone who doesn't value you. That's what I think." They sat a while longer, talked. Then Jennifer made up a bed for Sarah in the guest room, wished her good night. Sarah lay down, but couldn't fall asleep for a long time. Thoughts spun in her head. Somewhere now Paul was at the airport meeting his mother and sister, bringing them home, showing them the apartment, discovering the note, reading it, understanding that his wife had left forever. Sarah didn't know what he would feel. Anger, resentment, relief. She didn't care. She had made her choice, and now she would live the way she thought right. In the morning, Sarah woke up to the alarm, got ready, drank coffee, went to the office. Robert Morrison was waiting for her in his office. "Sarah, come in. Let's make everything official." The next hour was spent signing papers. Contract for the position of director of the New York branch. Base salary $150,000 per year, plus performance bonuses. Relocation advance $10,000. Company apartment provided for 6 months. Start date November 1st, in 1 month. Sarah signed one document after another without hesitation. This was her path, her choice, her future. "Congratulations," said Robert Morrison, shaking her hand. "Now you're officially a director. I wish you great success in New York." "Thank you." Sarah left the office with a feeling of unreality. Everything happened so fast. Just a week ago, she was a married woman working in Cleveland, and now she was getting divorced and moving to New York. Life had turned upside down in a matter of days. After lunch, she went to the attorney. Mr. Patterson had prepared all the documents. Divorce petition, property settlement agreement, giving up her share in the condo, separation agreement. "You'll need to inform your husband about the divorce. He must sign the consent." "I'll inform him. If he doesn't object, in 30 to 60 days the divorce will be final. He won't object." Sarah signed all the papers, paid the attorney's retainer, left. On the way, Paul called. Once, twice, 3 times. She didn't answer. On the 5th time, she finally picked up. "What?" "Sarah, where are you? I waited for you all night. Came home with Mom, and you're not there. Just a note." "I'm at a friend's." "What friend?" "Sarah, come home immediately." "I won't come. I don't live there anymore." "What do you mean you don't live there? That's your home." It was, "Now it's your home. Live there with your family." "Sarah, what are you talking about? Mom is in shock. She doesn't understand what's happening. Explain to her. Tell her your wife left because you chose your mother instead of her." "Sarah, stop this circus. Come back immediately." "No, Paul. I won't come back. Expect divorce papers within a week." "Divorce? Have you lost your mind?" "No. I just made a decision." Paul was yelling something into the phone, but Sarah wasn't listening anymore. Just hung up and blocked the number. The next 3 weeks passed in a frantic pace. Sarah processed the divorce, wrapped up matters at work, prepared for the move. There was no time left for reflection. Paul tried to contact her through mutual acquaintances, texted from other numbers. Sarah ignored him. Once he caught her in the office parking lot, tried to talk. She walked past without stopping. "Sarah, give me a chance. I'll fix everything." She turned around. It's too late, Paul. I've already decided everything. Sign the documents and leave me alone. But I love you. Sign the documents. She left without looking back. Paul stood there, helpless and confused. A week later, he signed consent to the divorce, sent it through his attorney. So he'd accepted it. 2 weeks later, Sarah flew to New York. Jennifer drove her to the airport. They hugged goodbye. "Keep in touch," said Jennifer, "and come visit sometimes." "Definitely." Sarah went through security, boarded the plane, sat by the window, watched as the aircraft taxied down the runway, lifted off the ground, climbed. Below remained Cleveland, the past, the husband who chose his mother instead of his wife. Ahead was New York, new work, new life, new opportunities. Sarah leaned back in her seat and closed her eyes. She did it, left her husband, dropped everything, started from scratch. At 38 years old, it was scary, but it was right. The plane gained altitude, flying further and further from the past. And Sarah thought about the future, about what her new life would be like, what challenges awaited at work, what people would cross her path. She didn't know what would happen next, but she knew one thing. She would no longer sacrifice herself for those who didn't value her. She chose herself, and that was the main thing. New York greeted her with noise, bustle, the frantic pace of life. Sarah came out of LaGuardia Airport and stopped, breathing in the air. The city hummed around her. Taxis honked. People hurried somewhere. No one paid attention to her. Here she was nobody, just one of millions. And that was wonderful. She caught a taxi to Manhattan, gave the address of the rental apartment. The driver nodded, turned on the meter, pulled away. New York flowed past the window. Wide avenues, skyscrapers, digital billboards. Everything was different, grander, faster, more intense. The apartment was in a good neighborhood on the Upper West Side, near a subway station. The realtor was waiting at the building entrance. A young woman in a business suit. "Sarah Collins? I'm Jessica. We spoke on the phone. Come on up, I'll show you the place." They took the elevator to the 8th floor. The apartment turned out to be a studio, but modern and comfortable. One large room with a sleeping area, kitchenette, bathroom. New furniture. Fresh renovation. View of the city from the window. "The company pays rent for 6 months," explained Jessica. "After that you can extend at your own expense or find something else. Utilities run about $150 a month. Any questions?" "No. Everything looks perfect." "Great. Here are the keys. Here's the lease agreement. If you need anything, call. Welcome to New York." Jessica left. Sarah remained alone in a strange apartment in a strange city. She walked through the space, opened cabinets, checked the kitchen. Everything was clean, new, impersonal. Not yet a home, just temporary housing. She went to the window, looked at the street. Below, people walked dogs. A couple sat on a bench in the small park across the street. Ordinary life of an ordinary neighborhood. Only now, this was her neighborhood. Sarah took out her phone, texted Jennifer. "Landed safe. Apartment's nice. Start work tomorrow." The answer came immediately. "Good job, hang in there. Everything will be fine." Sarah put away her phone and sat on the bed without unpacking. Tired, emotionally drained from the last month. Divorce, move, new job. Everything happened so fast there wasn't even time to process it. She lay down and fell into sleep. She slept heavily without dreams. In the morning, she woke to bright sunlight streaming through the window. Got up, showered, dressed in a professional suit, looked at herself in the mirror. Sarah Collins, director of the New York branch. It sounded impressive. At 9 a.m., she was already in the office. A corporate tower in Midtown Manhattan, all glass and steel. At reception, a woman directed her to the 15th floor. A man of about 45 came out to meet her, tall, well-dressed, confident. "Sarah Collins?" "James Whitman, VP of Operations. Great to meet you. Robert Morrison told me a lot about you." They shook hands. James showed her around the office, conference rooms, workstations, break room. Everything was new, expensive, professional. Your office is here. He opened the door to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows. Furnish it however you want. Budget is flexible. Computer, equipment, everything you need. Just submit requests to facilities. We'll have you set up within a week. Sarah looked around. The office was spacious, bright. From the windows opened a breathtaking view of Manhattan. This was nothing like her old, cramped office in Cleveland. You'll build your team from scratch, continued James. HR will help with recruiting. You need 12 people, sales managers, analysts, logistics coordinators, an executive assistant. In 1 month, the branch should be fully operational. Think you can handle it? I can handle it. I'm confident you can. Robert says you're a results-driven leader, exactly what we need. They discussed details, goals, metrics. Then James left, leaving Sarah alone in the empty office. She stood in the middle of the room thinking, this is it. New job, new position, new responsibility. Director of a branch of a major company. What I dreamed about for 8 years. Now I need to prove I'm worthy of it. Sarah sat at the desk, logged into the computer, opened files James had sent her. Branch development plan. List of potential clients, financial projections. There was a mountain of work. She dove into the documents, forgetting about everything, reading, analyzing, making notes. The first day passed quickly. By evening, her head buzzed from information. But Sarah felt satisfaction. This was hers, her work, her project, her responsibility. In the evening, she went home, stopped at a grocery store, bought basics, made a simple dinner, ate while half watching TV. News. Some business program. Sarah watched absently. Thoughts were about work. The phone rang. An unfamiliar number. Sarah frowned, but answered. Hello. Sarah, it's Valerie. Paul's sister. Remember me? Sarah tensed. I remember. What's going on? Valerie was silent for a moment, then said quietly, I wanted to warn you. Paul is planning to come to New York to see you. Says he wants to talk, explain everything, ask for forgiveness. Sarah squeezed the phone. When? Tomorrow. Taking the morning megabus. He'll be there by evening. Thanks for telling me. Sarah, can I ask you something? Yes. Did you love him? Sarah thought. Once long ago. Not anymore. I see. Sorry to bother you. Valerie hung up. Sarah put the phone down and thought. Paul was coming to New York. Why? What did he need? To get her back. Too late. The divorce was already in process. They were strangers. She took out her phone, texted Paul. Heard you're coming to New York. Don't come. We have nothing to talk about. The answer came in a minute. Sarah, I need to see you. It's important. Please. No. I'm coming anyway. Sarah sighed. So he'd come. Well, let him come. She'd tell him everything she thought and close this chapter finally. The next day, Sarah worked until evening, forgetting about Paul. Interviews with candidates, strategy meetings, planning sessions. By 7 o'clock, she went home, tired and hungry. At 8 p.m., the building intercom buzzed. Sarah went to the panel, saw Paul on the video screen. He stood at the entrance, looking disheveled, with a backpack. She pressed the button. What do you want? Sarah, let's talk. Let me come up, please. No. If you want to talk, we'll meet at a coffee shop tomorrow. But I came all the way from Cleveland. I'm tired. That's your problem. I didn't invite you. Paul was silent. Okay. Tomorrow. Where and what time? Sarah named a Starbucks near her building. 2 p.m. Got it. Paul nodded and left. The next day, Sarah arrived at the coffee shop on time. Paul was already sitting at a table by the window, drinking coffee. Seeing his wife, he stood up, tried to hug her. Sarah pulled away, sat across from him. Hi, Paul. Hi, Sarah. Thank you for agreeing to meet. They sat in silence. Paul nervously fidgeted with his cup, not knowing where to begin. Sarah looked at him calmly, waiting. Sarah, I came to apologize. I was wrong. I shouldn't have put Mom above you. Forgive me. Okay. I forgive you. Paul sighed with relief. Thank you. So we can try again. No. He froze. Why? Because an apology doesn't change anything. You are who you are, and I don't want to be with you. But I've changed. Really. I now understand I was wrong. Sarah shook her head. You understood this only when you lost me. But while I was there, everything was fine for you. That's not true. It is, Paul. And you know it. Paul leaned forward, reached for her hand. Sarah, let's try. I'll move to New York, find work. We'll start over. Without Mom, without Valerie. Just the two of us. Sarah pulled her hand back. And what will happen to your mother? She'll stay in Cleveland in the condo. I'll send her money. So now you're ready to abandon her? Paul hesitated. Not abandon, just live separately. Convenient. When it suited you, you chose your mother. Now, when it's different, you're ready to leave her. Sarah, I just want to be with you. You don't want to be with me. You want convenience, like before. A wife who cooks, does laundry, earns money, doesn't interfere with your life. And you sit with your buddies, drink beer, watch football. I'm not like that. You're exactly like that. And you won't change. Paul leaned back in his chair, looking at her. So, you won't give me a chance? No. Even if I try? Even so. Silence hung. Paul looked out the window. Sarah drank her coffee. Do you hate me? He finally asked. No. I just don't care. That hurts to hear. The truth always hurts. Paul stood up, took out his wallet, left cash on the table. I understand. Sorry for wasting your time. He left the coffee shop without saying goodbye. Sarah remained sitting, finishing her latte. Inside it was calm. She had closed this chapter for good. Paul wouldn't look for her anymore. Life continued. Work consumed her completely. Sarah built her team, established processes, landed contracts. Days flew by fast. A month later, the branch was fully operational. First major clients, first successes. Management was pleased. James Whitman personally congratulated Sarah on the successful launch. You're doing excellent work, Sarah. Even better than we expected. The CEO wants to meet with you, discuss expansion plans. I'd be happy to. The meeting with the CEO went well. He approved Sarah's work, promised additional budget, discussed prospects for growing the branch. Sarah felt satisfaction. She had achieved what she wanted. Career was advancing. Salary allowed comfortable living. Management valued her. But personal life remained empty. No friends in New York, no one to spend time with. After work, she came home to an empty apartment, made dinner for one, watched Netflix alone. Sometimes it weighed on her. 6 months passed, then another 3 months. Sarah got used to the new life. New York became home. Work was going excellently. Money allowed her not to worry, but loneliness didn't go anywhere. One evening, when Sarah sat on her small balcony with tea, Jennifer called from Cleveland. Sarah, how are you? Fine. Working. Listen, I was thinking, maybe it's time for you to start dating someone? Build a personal life. Sarah smiled. Date who? I don't have time. You can make time. Sarah, you're not a robot. You can't live only for work. Sure I can. That's exactly what I'm doing. That's not healthy. You're 39. Do you want to stay alone forever? Sarah thought. Did she want to stay alone? Probably not. But after Paul, she was afraid to trust someone. Afraid to make another mistake. To lose herself again for another person. I don't know, Jen. I don't know what I want. Then think about it, or life will pass you by. They said goodbye. Sarah remained sitting on the balcony, looking at evening Manhattan. City lights, street sounds, life boiling around. Maybe Jennifer was right. Maybe it was time to break out of the closed circle, start meeting people, making connections, looking for someone. But Sarah didn't know how. She had forgotten how to meet people, flirt, build relationships. Work had become her entire life, her only purpose. Another month passed. At work, there was a crisis. A major client threatened to break their contract. Sarah worked 14-hour days, solving the problem. 2 weeks later, the crisis passed. New client found, contract secured, branch saved. Management again praised her, but Sarah felt empty. She had given everything, solved the problem, proved her worth. And what next? More work, more problems, more stress. That evening, Sarah came home, collapsed on her bed and cried. For the first time in a year. Just lay there and cried without holding back. She was exhausted. Exhausted from being strong, successful, independent. Exhausted from living alone, without support, without someone close. Maybe she was wrong. Maybe she shouldn't have left Paul. Maybe she should have tried to compromise. But then she remembered how he said, "I don't give a damn about your promotion." Remembered how he chose his mother over her. Remembered how much it hurt. No, she wasn't wrong. She made the right choice. It's just that the price of that choice turned out to be high. Sarah wiped her tears, got up, washed her face with cold water, looked at herself in the mirror. Tired face, dark circles under her eyes. She had aged this year. Something needed to change. She couldn't keep living like this. The next day, Sarah signed up for yoga classes, found a studio near her building, bought a monthly membership, decided to try something new, distract herself from work. The classes turned out to be pleasant. Calming music, flowing movements, meditation. Sarah relaxed, forgot about her problems. At the third class, a woman in her mid-30s with a pixie cut and kind eyes approached her. "Hi, I'm Kate. Are you new?" "Yes." "Sarah. Nice to meet you. How long have you been doing yoga?" "Just started. About a week ago." "Cool. Do you like it?" "Yes. Helps me decompress." They started talking. Kate turned out to be a therapist with a private practice in the city. She said she'd been doing yoga for 3 years. It helped manage stress. "What do you do?" she asked. "I'm a branch director for a distribution company." "Wow, high-powered job. Probably stressful." "It can be." "If you ever need to talk, I do private sessions. I can help work through things." Sarah smiled. "Thanks. I'll keep that in mind." They exchanged numbers. After class, Sarah walked home feeling lighter. It was nice to meet someone, just have a conversation about something other than work. A week later, Kate called. "Sarah, hi. Listen, I have 2 tickets to a show at the public theater. My friend can't make it. Want to come with me?" Sarah thought. Usually she turned down such invitations. But now, for some reason, she wanted to say yes. "Sure. When?" "Saturday evening. Meet at the theater at 7. "Sounds good." On Saturday, Sarah put on a nice dress, did her makeup, took the subway to the theater. Kate was already waiting, looking stylish in dark jeans and a blazer. "Sarah, you look great." "Thanks. You too." They went inside, found their seats. The play was experimental, thought-provoking. Sarah watched, absorbed, forgetting everything else. It had been forever since she'd been to theater, hadn't allowed herself such pleasures. After the show, they stopped at a wine bar, ordered glasses of Pinot Noir. "Did you like it?" Kate asked. "Loved it. Thanks for inviting me." "Of course. Glad you came." They talked. Kate told her story. Divorced, no kids, lives alone, practices therapy and does yoga, loves theater and hiking. "What about you?" she asked. "Tell me about yourself." Sarah briefly told her story. The divorce, the move to New York, the new job. Kate listened attentively without interrupting. "Sounds like it was tough. But good for you for choosing yourself. A lot of people don't have the courage to do that. Sometimes I regret it." "That's normal. Any major life decision brings doubts. But the important thing is, you did what you needed for yourself, not what others expected of you." Sarah thought about that. You're probably right. I'm definitely right. I'm a therapist. You can trust me. They sat longer, talked about life, work, plans. Sarah felt warmth spreading inside. It had been so long since she'd connected with someone just like this, casually as friends. From then on, they met regularly. Yoga twice a week, sometimes movies or shows. Kate became Sarah's first real friend in New York. Gradually, life began to stabilize. Work still took up most of her time, but now there were other things too. Yoga, hanging out with Kate, occasional theater trips. A year passed since the move. Sarah marked the anniversary, quietly alone. She sat at home with a glass of wine, thinking about the past year. A year ago, she left her husband, left her hometown, started a new life. Was it right? Yes. Did she regret it? No. Was it easy? No. But she managed, built a career, settled in, made at least one friend. Life continued. Not perfect, not easy, but her own. The phone rang. Unknown number. Sarah frowned, but answered. Hello. Sarah, it's Valerie. Hi. What's up? Valerie was quiet for a moment. I wanted to let you know. Paul got married last month. To a woman his mom set him up with. Quiet, obedient, does whatever Linda says. Sarah was silent, processing the news. I see. Congratulate him for me. Sarah, aren't you upset? No. I'm happy for him. I hope he finds happiness. Really? Really? We've been strangers for a long time now. Valerie sighed. You know I envy you. You left, started over. And I'm stuck here with Mom, with Paul, with his new wife. Same apartment, same life. You can leave too. You're not obligated to stay. Easy to say. I have nowhere to go. No money, no job, no real skills. All of that can change if you want it to. Maybe. Thanks for listening. Sorry to bother you. Valerie hung up. Sarah set down the phone and thought. Paul got married, living with his new wife, mother and sister in a 2-bedroom condo. Is he happy? Probably not. But that was his choice. And she made her choice and didn't regret it. Another 6 months passed. 18 months since the move. Life fell into a rhythm. Work, yoga, time with Kate, occasional weekend trips. Still no romantic life. Sarah wasn't looking for a relationship, wasn't trying to find someone. Just lived her life day by day. Once Kate said, Sarah, have you thought about dating again? Sarah shrugged. Sometimes. But I don't know if I want to. Why not? I'm afraid of making another mistake, of losing myself for someone again. That makes sense. But not all people are like your ex. There are good ones out there. Maybe. But I'm not looking. Kate shook her head. You're not okay with being alone. You've just gotten used to it. But that doesn't mean it should be permanent. Sarah didn't answer. Maybe Kate was right. Maybe she was just afraid to let someone in. But she wasn't ready to change. Not yet. Several more months passed. 2 years since the move. Sarah marked the day, quietly without fanfare. Just another day. At work everything was excellent. The branch showed outstanding results. Management was thrilled. Sarah got promoted again. Now she oversaw 3 branches across the Northeast. Salary increased to $200,000. More responsibility, but no joy from it. Just another rung on the ladder. Sarah understood something was wrong. She had achieved everything she wanted: career, money, independence. But there was no happiness, only emptiness inside. One evening she sat on her balcony, looking at the city. Lights of Manhattan, millions of people, each with their own life, their own struggles, their own joys. And what did she have? Work, an empty apartment, occasional friend time. That was it. Sarah took out her phone, opened old photos, scrolled through pictures. Her with Paul on their honeymoon, at their wedding, in their first apartment. Young, happy in love. When did it all go wrong? When did they become strangers? She closed the photos and put away her phone. The past stayed in the past. Paul was married, living his life. She was living hers. They meant nothing to each other anymore. And that was right. Sarah finished her tea, went inside, closed the balcony door. Tomorrow was work again. Meetings, reports, calls. An ordinary day of an ordinary life. She lay down to sleep, staring at the ceiling, thinking about her life. What was, what is, what will be. Did she regret her choice? No. She did what she had to do. Chose herself, her career, her freedom. The price was high. Loneliness, emptiness, no one close. But she paid that price consciously. Maybe someday something will change. Maybe she'll meet someone. Maybe she'll learn to trust again, love again, build a relationship. Or maybe not. Maybe she'll stay alone. With work, career, independence. Sarah didn't know. No one knows what tomorrow brings. But she knew one thing. She didn't regret it. She made a choice and lived with it. Everything else wasn't as important. In the morning, Sarah woke to her alarm. Got up, got ready for work. An ordinary morning. She looked at herself in the mirror. 40 years old. Successful career. Good salary. Independence. And no one beside her. This was her life. The one she chose for herself. Did she regret it? No. Was she happy? She didn't know. But she was free. And that was the main thing. Sarah took her bag and left the apartment, went downstairs, caught an Uber, headed to the office. The city woke up around her. People rushed about their business. Life continued, and Sarah continued living. Her life. Not perfect, not easy, but her own. And that was what she fought for, what she left her husband for, dropped her old life for, started everything from scratch for. Freedom. Choice. The right to live the way she wanted. And let the price be high. Let it be lonely. Let it not always be easy, but it was honest, genuine, real. Sarah arrived at work, went up to her office, sat at her desk, opened her computer. A new day beginning. New challenges, new problems, new goals. And Sarah was ready. Because she wasn't one of those who gives up. She was one of those who goes all the way.